Welcome, everyone, to Tech Foundations for Startup Success. My name is Zara Safavian, and I am the Chief Product Officer at Nexford University. Today, we will be talking about two of my favorite topics, entrepreneurship and technology. The focus of this webinar today is how startups and entrepreneurs can harness technology to grow and scale their ventures. Specifically, we're going to dive into the mechanics of how you select tools, evaluate tools, and how technology can accelerate your business. And we are going to do this with someone who is an expert on the topic, Ntale, who is an incredible leader in the startup ecosystem. Very excited to introduce all of you to him. He is a champion in connecting both private and public sectors to create favorable environments for startups to grow and thrive. He's specifically focused on the areas of infrastructure, talent, and financing and investment. And he's the CEO of ICT Rwanda Chamber. We're very grateful for his time today to dive into a subject that many entrepreneurs struggle with, namely, how do you build the right technology stack for your business, not just for today, but also to scale into the future. So before we get started, I want to cover the agenda and some housekeeping items. We just did the introductions, but we'll start with a bit of a discussion on digital infrastructure and get some insights into what makes for resilient startups. And then we're going to have a Q&A section at the end. There is a Q&A button in Zoom, and you can select that where you can add your questions if you have any, and we will be responding to those at the end of the presentation. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Alex, you want to?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, let's get started by sort of diving right into digital infrastructure. So we hear a stat pretty frequently that only 10% of startups make it, and that's pretty daunting, numbers, I think. Let's start by talking what I think, and I think you think, is an important factor in determining startup success, digital infrastructure. Can you share with us what your thoughts are on the importance of digital infrastructure and the role that it plays in startup success?
So for us, I think, or from my point of view, digital infrastructure obviously is those rails that we all need to build anything. And in the digital space, it goes without saying, you need to have connectivity, to have computational power, as well as be able to have storage. Connectivity obviously has been a challenge many parts of the continent, and here at home, that was one of the key things, or the first things that was heavily focused on in the early days of creating or building up the ecosystem, mainly government ensuring that there is the fiber network across the country, and that has paid off in many ways. Of course, since today we're talking about the startup ecosystem, or the entrepreneur ecosystem, that provided at least an entry point for entrepreneurs who wanted to get in on the digital opportunities, or the global digital opportunities. And since then, we have seen that the internet, or digital infrastructure, levels the playing field. Okay, so levels the playing field in many ways, but to a degree, it allows it lowers the barriers, the previously perceived barriers of entry. And digital today is the only place where now, with a laptop, you can launch a global business with just one, by yourself or with a couple of friends. So that's, I think, for me, that's how I would place it. Now, of course, are there challenges? Yes, there are challenges. But for now, I think the experience has been that the playing field has been leveled and we can all play.
Yeah, I think that really resonates with me, and I think with us at Nexford, because we saw, I think digital technology and specifically the ability to create an online university as also lowering the barriers, right, to entry for, people to gain an education no matter where you are, I think, in the world. And one of the things that really, I think was important to us, and I think you probably have a lot of opinions on, is how you select the technologies, to start. So technology can be very expensive. It can also be difficult to learn in some cases. What would you say are some of the important factors in selecting that technology stack, when you're first starting out?
I mean, starting out, I think that the technology stack, or what I have seen mostly people do or entrepreneurs do is whatever is available and is easy to access. Okay. Of course, in many jurisdictions today, you're having emergence of data protection laws and localization requirements. But those also kick in once you have achieved a certain level of scale. But the technology stack today, what we've seen is the likes of AWS and things that are easy. I can sit in my bedroom or in a class dormitory or in a school dormitory, university dormitory, and I'm able to straight away launch a product, whether that is going to be deployed in the App Store or on the web or other Play Store, etc. Yeah, the fact that I can connect to the top of the range infrastructure, that's the likes of DigitalOcean, AWS, and so on, self-provisioning, and I'm ready to go. And that for me is what I've seen mostly people prioritize, the ease. And besides the ease, there's also, of course, the cost. In as much as the internet has leveled the ground, you still, if you're starting out a business, previously, you would have required, or you need to have an office, you need to have these locations, you need to have, there's so many a kind of weight that you needed to carry. Yeah, but the fact that you have digital infrastructure that you can plug in, and if you're not doing specifically, if you're not doing a hardware heavy business, yeah, you're literally able to kick off. So the costs, the flexibility, or ease, convenience, in most cases, has showed also that these are the key parameters most of the entrepreneurs are using. And then thirdly, on where, for example, if I'm deploying it on the marketplaces, okay, where is my market? Am I targeting a Western market? Am I targeting a local market or a continental market? So again, that also now, in a way, determines whether I'm going to choose a web or an offline solution or a software as a service business model. So the business model, to a degree, also dictates the kind of infrastructure that I'm going to, or how I select, how I deploy.
Should you be thinking about scalability at the beginning when you're selecting your technology, or is that something that you think comes a little bit later in the process?
Yes and no, because when you're starting out, the most important thing you're obsessed with is, one, will I get validation from the customer base?
Right.
My product work? So at least in my experience working with entrepreneurs, what I've seen is scalability comes on a needs basis. Okay, now I'm outgrowing what I'm used to. Yeah. And since also resources are a constraint, luckily, at least for storage and compute and all these other things, what the likes of AWS and others have done is that infrastructure in itself is scalable. Okay.
Right.
And again, going back to the earlier regulatory constraints that I was talking about with localization requirements, compliance, and on so on, then at the beginning, you don't want to get into that kind of those conversations. But once you've proven you have validation from the market, I think what we call mostly product market fit and so on, then this thing can scale. And for scale, I need to become compliant. Okay. So yes, it's at the back of your mind at the beginning, but really prioritizing, I think it should be once you have that validation. Other than
Right.
that, you could be carrying way too much risk and weight that is unnecessary.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Could you share with us maybe one or two case studies or examples of some startups that you know or that you're familiar with that have benefited from using digital infrastructure, right, or implementation to grow and become successful?
Yeah, so I think in a mobility space, we saw a company that started out with just one bus company where they were working on a few routes, out of town routes, and they had a web application, had a solution on their point of sale. And transactions were running smoothly, okay, when they had only that client. But then as that number grew, the number of bus operators grew from 1 to 10 with a fleet, and with a bigger fleet, I think over 300-400 buses that require processing tens of thousands of transactions per day.
Right.
And that then started kicked in. Okay, we need a server. We need to go localize. We're carrying a lot of data, personal data. So we cannot continue using the online or the AWSs of this world. Now they have to do co-location, have with one of the local companies. So that for us, I think, in terms of case stories or cases, that's what I have seen, and that has been really the model, mostly where you're collecting quite a lot of data. This is daily data as well, very personal. It includes your tracking. You literally can track where people are going. Okay, and it's quite sensitive. It could be sensitive data. So that is, I think that's the story in my experience that I can share for now. We have others, by the way, also in the education edtech space, more or less similar story.
That brings me, I think, to a pretty important topic related to not just startups, but to all technology companies, is, this idea of sensitive information and security and privacy laws. Um, and I guess I wonder how do people learn all of the technical skills as well as the, legal, the rules and all of that to make sure that they are complying, but also that they can protect, the data and the privacy of their customers.
The data protection and privacy law came into force last year. It gave out from the date of publication or gazetting by the government. There was a 2-year period, and the compliance on that, or some efforts that we tried, was running clinics, data protection clinics, helping entrepreneurs from that front, helping them to understand what the obligations are, and also bringing on board the legal talent and working with law firms, but also with law graduates, students or fellows that have come out of university. We train them on the law. They get acquainted with the law, and then they can provide support to entrepreneurs, but also to the broader. Also working with law firms, and really, because this is not their traditional foray, and they're now at least a good number of them are getting have gotten the awareness, but they're also helping their clients. The other thing we try to do for entrepreneurs is it's been through the programs, incubator programs or acceleration programs, where again we've been working with law schools, or working with law firms, and attaching or running a program where we attach a law school graduate with a startup, and during that incubation, 6 months incubation period, they get to learn the compliance requirements, but also they get to learn what the tech or the entrepreneur ecosystem is like, and that helps in 2 ways. One, provide practical skills to the young graduates, law graduates, but also creates room for the entrepreneurs, for the tech entrepreneurs, to be able to focus on what they're great at, which is product development and acquiring customers. So on their side, on acquiring or technical skills as well, the experience, I think, as I started out saying, that the digital infrastructure or connectivity leveled the playing field. It also leveled the learning field. Okay, so they all have access, or anyone has access to the best content, the best material, from Udacity to edX to other platforms, and congratulations to Nexford that is now providing also similar infrastructure. So the learning and gaining hands-on technical skills is now up to you, how to individuals, and the discipline they have to learn and to adjust or to unlearn in some cases, because the material and the content is out there. At least cost is not a major hindrance, as long as someone is connected, or at least the barrier has been brought so low, anyone can jump over it.
That's great. Let's jump into what I'll call the power round, where we'd like you to share some of your words of wisdom on a few topics. And we'll start, since we were talking about education and sort of gaining skills, with how would you see ongoing education, or what the link is between ongoing education and startup success, particularly in leveraging technology? What are some things people should be doing?
I think it's what I just closed with, the willingness to learn and unlearn. That for me is a key thing, because we've learned so many habits in many environments, to a degree that sometimes it's only that it's helpful that we begin to unlearn. As a startup, you need to be agile, adjust as quick as possible, pivot where you need to pivot, and don't get attached to your product or to your prototype. So the education that we all gained was good. In some cases, sometimes it wasn't. And the digital infrastructure that is available to us now gives us the opportunity to correct that, whatever wasn't right.
Right. I guess in the education space, we like to talk about lifelong learning, and I think that's probably especially important for entrepreneurs, right?
Yes, it's lifelong learning, exactly. So success or failure is just going to be determined by your willingness to learn and the discipline you apply to that.
You talked a bit about, how technology is changing, quite rapidly, and that's one of the reasons for, needing to learn, in this way. Can you maybe highlight some of what you think are some of the top trends in technology and digital infrastructure that startups should know about now to stay competitive?
Okay, today, obviously, the most obvious thing is artificial intelligence. The most obvious trend is artificial intelligence. And yes, it could be buzz and whatever, but I think at this point, it's more than just buzz. So we need to take it seriously and really try to understand how we stay relevant, or how we stay abreast with, or adjust whatever we need to adjust. I've had I think all sorts of engineering terminologies that have been applied to the GPTs of this world. So yeah, artificial intelligence, and it is applicable in many disciplines or in many verticals. So it's not just in one, maybe only for one industry and not the other. So it's going to affect all industries. So for me, I think that's at the moment, that's what I see as what we need to pay great attention to.
Right.
In terms of trends, yeah.
Could you share a startup success story that you really admire, your favorite one, or maybe one that you had a hand in? And what can our audience learn from that story?
So it's quite a difficult one. Quite a difficult one, but I'll go with two: Academic Bridge and Caris UAS. So these two companies I've known, I think, as early as 2014. And they've been consistent in building product and going after customers and getting validation from customers and tweaking or adjusting their products. And today they have grown their teams very from a healthy, I think, in a healthy way. So yeah, I think those two for me, they carry. The reason I admire them, yeah, the reason I like them is because of their consistency and focus, and trying to make money from the get-go. Because I think there's been a level of kind of adoption of a Silicon Valley type of way of running businesses, which isn't healthy for an African context. And I think with particularly these two, in my view, focused on cash flow, help really help themselves to build up healthy businesses. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that, I mean, you've talked about a little bit about some legal topics and also obviously technical skills, but then are some finance and accounting skills also important for startup founders or potential startup founders to learn and acquire?
Yes, you need to understand those, because honestly, so there is a front office and there's a back office, and your back office is definitely going to be the people, the accounting, and all the compliance requirements that go with it.
Right.
Or the financing, because you need to finance your business, whether you're financing it through customer revenue or you're financing it through investors. Those are critical skills that you cannot. All go into business to make a profit. From the get-go, that is key. So those are skills, entrepreneurial or life skills, that you need to have. But we cannot be experts of every topic or experts of every subject. So making sure that you have the right finance team or accounting team. Again, I always try to separate the two, because accounting, you're accounting for something. Okay, financing is more on the funding and understanding the different financial instruments that are out there, that are out there that apply to you and to the capital structure that you're working with. So as a startup, again, the resources are available, learning resources are available online, and you only do yourself a favor to make sure that you have the basics, but also that you recruit the right team that you can work with. And so what we have done in the past, again, has been mostly trying to again bridge that gap, so that if you're a tech founder or you're a technology team, we help you with some of those skills. So at least the basics during the incubation or the acceleration programs, and attaching again a finance or business graduate to a startup. But that's a program we've done in the past. Some of our partners still run similar initiatives. But for now, all I can say, or all I can share with founders, with entrepreneurs, is we go into business to make money. So it's only imperative that you actually have a good understanding of these things.
Right. So one last one here before I think we open this up to some questions from attendees. But from your observation, what is a key attribute or skill that you think distinguishes a successful entrepreneur or digital forward entrepreneur from an unsuccessful?
Agility. Digital forward, that's good. So agility and being able to not to see the future, but to understand trends. okay,
Right.
and analyze trends and see what are the growth trends, what wave is a fad, what wave is solid, that you can ride on. But the biggest one has to be agility, your ability to adjust, to take advice, to, go to customers, taking their feedback and not and not to think about it or to think through it as rejection or as mere not understanding of your product, not appreciating your product, but rather as a positive feedback that you can help you to iterate your product. So and also, yeah, the other one is the stomach for rejection. You need to have a stomach for rejection. Otherwise, you won't survive.
Right. I think that's probably a common, right? Most startup founders probably get more rejection than not, I'm sure.
Yeah, you need to be. You will get rejected by customers and get rejected by investors. So, so if you don't have a strong stomach, you'll just think people hate you.
Right. Okay, we have, let's see, okay, here's some questions in the Q&A, and if anybody has any additional questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A box. But the first one is, in the light of rapid advancements in digital technologies, how can we ensure that our digital infrastructure remains resilient against cyber threats while also being scalable and adaptable to future innovations, such as quantum computing and AI?
I think the starting point has to be awareness, okay? The fact that you need to be situational aware, aware of the situation, what's coming, what's likely to come. Again, goes back to that earlier point on understanding the trends, what's known from just, oh, this is trending, blah, 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 but understanding, okay, this is the trend, these are the likely scenarios that could play out, potential risks, and so on. And so educating ourselves goes back again to our earlier points. We need to stay lifelong learning, like you correctly said, Zara. So lifelong learning, whether you're a regulator or a startup founder or a business, in today's kind of environment, you cannot afford just to be docile and just there, just let me watch and see. Right. You'll be hit.
And then the same person had a second question in there, but what are some of the key challenges we should anticipate in ensuring equitable access and security in this rapidly evolving landscape?
So what are the key challenges we should anticipate? I mean, the ransomware and all sorts of manipulation or extortion. Yeah, so those are definitely only going to increase. We see them in the West and in other parts of the world. Is not because those the evildoers, so to speak, are not watching us, are not seeing how we are digitizing. It's just that there's still opportunities out there that they can exploit, and they will be shopping around. I'm sure they've already started shopping around, so on the continent or in these parts of the world. So yeah, extortion, I think, and the hackers or people ransom threats and cyber threats, in essence, I think for me are top, number one on that. And we've already seen that. I think here in Rwanda, one of the banks, I think, was hit last year. and several others in the region.
Right. Sounds like I think cybersecurity is probably one area or field where you really can't stop learning because there's always new ways of, I think, compromising, data and information.
Yes, with every new development, there are vulnerabilities that are also we're getting exposed to. Even with new systems, they also come with their own vulnerabilities. And now with the emergence of crypto and the fact that people can place demands and you can't trace them, that also just increases the attractiveness of these kind of operators.
Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier about hiring and finance, but how about tech support? How should you get tech support for designing or implementing? And is it better to hire someone full-time or to contract the work?
I mean, it depends on the resources a company has. Okay, I mean, financial resources. I mean, and also the kind of regulatory environment that it's playing in. If it's playing in a sector that is highly regulated, so service level agreements and downtime can be very, I mean, you could have consequences that you may not be able to recover from. For example, in financial sector or in the health sector, if people's lives are at risk and your system is what is supporting that. So one angle is to look at, okay, what are the risks and what are the how much what are my compliance obligations? Okay, if you are in a less strict sector, again, you need to weigh in on your resources. What kind of resources do you have? Financial resources, and a weight on that basis, honestly, because sometimes you may find that, okay, the tech support is only needed once, maybe in a week, or once in a day, whereas you could source that from someone else. But for heavy duty type of solutions that are, then you may want to have in-house, or even if it's outsourced, it could be that you're outsourcing a team, and not just an individual.
Right. This is a related question from someone so let's jump to this one first. What technical skills are needed for me as a founder?
Depends on what you're founding. So if you're trying to build a healthcare solution, a health tech solution, or fintech solution, the technical skills may be different, but at least engineering could be one of the technical skills. Or I think maybe technical, sometimes people don't think sales is technical, but you need to be able to convince people to buy your product. Okay, so and there's a whole technical side to that, or science, or behavior science of some level, that you may need to get, whereas the engineering skills could be outsourced. So it really, there's no one size fits all. It has to be in context to the customer base that you're targeting, to the type of product that you're building, to the compliance requirements that exist in that industry, and so on. So those will more or less shape the type of technical skills that you need. But whatever you are doing, if you're building a technology solution, you should have a minimum level of understanding the technologies or the technology stack that is being used, just for you to be able to understand what your teams are working on and what they're building.
Right.
And you can't have all that. That's why the reason for co-founders rather, yeah, and building a good team, whether that team is in-house or team of advisors. You can't have all the skills.
Right. I think it was I think Steve Jobs who maybe said something like the first 5, I think, or 10 people that you hire, that you choose to start your business with, are probably the most important hires you'll make, right?
Yeah.
In a startup. Do you have any tips for negotiating pricing?
No, but whatever you're doing, try to make money as soon as possible. So however small it is. I don't have any tips, honestly, on that, but at least have at the back of your mind that you need to price it.
Right.
It's what gives you.
I think finally we have what is the best tech stack for startups? Or do you have a favorite?
I don't know. These days I have biases in hardware, so I don't. I don't know. It depends. Again, just really, really highly depends on where you want to deploy. If you're deploying solutions on mobile, yeah, I think what I've seen are these technologies or technology stacks that build once and deploy to multiple platforms, whether it's on the apps on the App Store in Apple or on in Android, as well as web. So what reduces technology stacks that reduce the workload that you have to do, or the resources that you have to apply. So that's for me. I don't know, that's where I would go. But whatever you're doing, again, let it be on Git at least, or let it be on the cloud. Our laptops have a very risky, high risk tools, and you don't want to have built the whole thing only to lose it because water poured in your laptop, or someone stole it, someone broke into your house and stole your gadgets. So the cloud.
I think that's very good advice. I think that is the last question, unless any more pop up just now, which I don't see. So let us conclude. I want to thank all of you for attending, but especially Alex for your time today. It was great to hear your words of wisdom.
Thank you.
We have we talked a little bit about the importance of gaining skills, of course, and how learning some of those can really lower the barriers to entry, I think, in the entrepreneurship space. I think we also have learned how technology and some of the new technologies that are coming out are doing the same. So it's, I think, a particularly exciting time, to start a business and to become a founder. We have on the screen a couple of programs that, I think, Alex mentioned earlier as well, that, we've launched because we also believe very much in the vision that Alex is sharing. One is our new Masters of Science in Entrepreneurship, where you would learn not just about some of the things that we talked about, product market fit, for example, and how you make sure that you have that, but the funding piece and some of the finance and funding but also some product design and development, as well as our Masters of Science in Digital Transformation, which is great whether you want to be a founder or whether you're working, you know, in any industry right now that is rapidly digitally transforming, which is pretty much every industry, I think, as we've discussed. And I want to share, so of course our website, but especially Alex's website here, the ICT Chamber. Let's make sure that we all visit and learn some more about the great work that he's doing. Thank you, Alex, for your time.
Thank you, everyone.